Scottie Scheffler is standing in the third fairway at TPC Southwind, staring down a penalty drop, and he turns to his caddy and asks him a question that basically sums up his entire year. 4 hours later, he's lifting a trophy by 8 shots. To understand why that moment mattered so much, you need to rewind and look at the season that led up to it. Scheffler showed up in Memphis as the #1 player on the planet, 30 years old, and he hadn't actually won a tournament since January. 7 months without a trophy. But here's the thing, he wasn't struggling. He was everywhere near the top of leaderboards, just never quite finishing the job. 11 top 10 finishes, 5 runner-up results, 5 more top 4 finishes. He missed exactly 1 cut out of 17 events. He even topped the money list for the 4th time in 5 years, owning a $10 million bonus. Though that bonus doesn't officially count toward his career earnings, which becomes a big deal later in this story. There was another wrinkle too. TPC Southwind was the one course on tour where Scheffler had played the most times and never won. 7 tries, 0 titles. It was also the only playoff event that had eluded him. Right before Memphis, he'd finished runner-up again, this time at the 3M Open. Another near miss. Then he went home to Texas for 2 weeks, and something clicked. He said he just felt like he'd found something the moment he picked up a club again. No grinding on the range, no overthinking, just playing. That shift showed up almost instantly. In round 2, he started the day 6 shots behind the leader, Sungjae Im. By early afternoon, that gap didn't exist anymore. He opened with 5 straight birdies, then a 6th on hole 7, the best start of his career on tour. He said afterward he honestly couldn't remember ever being that low, that early, in a round. It wasn't flawless. He bogeyed the 8th, then made the turn in 30. He birdied the 10th, then hit his tee shot into the water on 12, one of the toughest holes on the course that day, and had to scramble just to save bogey. He answered right back with a bogey on 13, then closed with 3 in a row to finish 9 under 61, tying the course record. 11 birdies, 13 one-putts. It was the 4th time in his career he'd shot 61 or better, and it gave him the outright 36-hole lead for the 8th time since 2024, a stat that had already produced 4 wins and 6 top 3 finishes in the previous 7 instances. One of his fellow competitors summed it up simply, "You know he's not going to let up." Maybe it's a little unfair to expect that from him every single week, but that's just how he's built his game. Saturday tested that reputation. Scheffler carried a 3-shot lead into round 3 and immediately played rocky golf. 1 over through his first 7 holes, hitting only 1 green in 5 tries. On the 3rd hole, his approach smacked a tree directly above him and fell straight down into thick rough. From there, buried beside a bunker with over 100 yards left, he somehow put it to 12 feet and made the putt for par. He bogeyed the next hole, didn't make a birdie until the 8th, then steadied himself with back-to-back birdies and a clutch par save late. He shot 68, good for a 2-shot lead heading into Sunday, but the field was closing in. Sam Burns caught fire with a bogey-free 6-2. Sungjae Im shot 6-7. Suddenly, it wasn't just a 2-man race anymore, and the final pairing carried real weight. Sam Burns isn't just a rival, his Scheffler's closest friend in golf, the best man at his wedding. The two had played together 16 times, but never once in a real title fight on Sunday. Burns had beaten him before, in a playoff years earlier, but this felt different. Scheffler admitted it was strange wanting so badly for his friend to succeed while also trying to beat him. Burns, for his part, knew exactly what he was walking into. He said flatly that Scheffler wasn't going to lay down for anybody. Sunday delivered brutal heat and the strongest wind of the week, and the moment that defines this whole story. On the 3rd hole, Scheffler hit a bunker shot that looked destined to settle a few feet from the cup for an easy birdie. Instead, it landed on a sprinkle ahead, took a violent bounce, rolled off the green, down the slope, and straight into the water. What should have been a 2-shot cushion turned into a 1-shot lead in an instant. That's when he turned to his caddy and asked, half in disbelief, "When is this going to stop happening?" The answer came fast. Burns made double bogey on that same hole. 2 holes later, Scheffler stuck an iron to 10 feet and made it. Then he drained a 20-footer on the next hole. Then a 22-footer a few holes after that. The margin he'd just lost never came back for anyone else. What briefly looked like a dogfight turned into a runaway. He closed with a 4 under 6-6, finished at 17 under, and won by 8 shots, the largest margin of victory in the 68-year history of that tournament, breaking a record that had stood since 1996. It was his 21st career win, his 11th straight conversion of a 54-hole lead into a title, and then the number that goes beyond golf. His paycheck alone was $3.6 million, plus another $23 million locked in for leading the FedEx Cup standings. That pushed his official career earnings past Rory McIlroy, putting him just over $1 million behind Tiger Woods' all-time record, a record that stood since the year 2000, and one Scheffler could realistically break within days, with 2 more massive paydays still left on the schedule. Meanwhile, at the other end of the leaderboard, a very different kind of drama played out. Players fighting just to keep their tour cards relevant, some making it by a single stroke, others falling agonizingly short with the water guarding the final holes. But the headline was written on the 3rd hole of a Sunday in Memphis, a sprinkle ahead, a bad break, one honest question to a caddy, and a response that turned a nearly winless year into one of the most dominant weeks golf has seen in decades.